Hello everyone and welcome to another unit review, and today we are taking a look at one of the units that I think a lot of people have been waiting for. Zack is finally here, and Zack may have a little bit of interesting promise for the future, because for a while we've been waiting for Final Fantasy VII units, and well, this year we kind of got just a slew of them. We got Tifa, we got Vincent, we got all the recent units too. And Zack coming into the fold before Cid is a little bit surprising, to say the least. But let's just talk about this guy. Starting off with just his sprite. Sprite looks great. Definitely reminiscent of Cloud, and I would say that even his kit is very reminiscent of Cloud, which fits with the story. So yeah, Zack just looks pretty damn cool. Love the way his limit bursts look, and yeah, nice to see a Final Fantasy VII reference being in the squats. What is it again? Circle, triangle O, or circle, triangle X? Doesn't really matter. But yes, Zack is finally in the game, and Zack holds a little bit of promise for the future of anyone who's been hoping for Crisis Core to show up. Because a lot of Zack's moves actually reference fully Crisis Core, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the near coming time. But to start off, Zack is kind of just great for anybody who's just starting the game, especially Yuffie is too. I would say that this month of August was fantastic for anyone who was starting the game. You got a ton of free resources, you got low stamina for an entire month in terms of cost for everything, and just some great quality units that kind of stretch the gambit of what you could potentially need in the game. From debuffers to healers to attackers. It's been a pretty good month for units. And also, I think Zack does potentially hold the future, some good potential for the future. Now, his TMR is Buster Blade, and you know how I feel about any unit that has a weapon-based TMR in the 7-star. I'm not a big fan of it because it essentially limits their equipment selection. I mean, you can choose a different piece of equipment. For Zack, you can choose a different greatsword. The problem is that you lose out on their TMR ability, which can usually be pretty costly. This one does have a good 145 attack, and honestly, there's another reason why I like it, or it bothers me less in this kit than in other kits. Now, his super TMR is just fantastic. 40% attack when equipped with a greatsword, 100% attack for true dual wield. So, yes, this is just Buster Blade to the next level. This super TMR really feels like a super TMR, and one that I would be very happy to get my hands on. But it does really lend itself only to the greatsword family. Still, the greatswords have fallen a little behind with Axstar coming out, so kind of nice to see something to kind of give them a little bit more. Now, pretty much Zack is going to be based on great swords, which, again, his TMR does give you at least a pretty good great sword. And stat-wise, his base attack is 209, which is pretty damn high for a base attack. Also, an extra 65 points put in means that he will be pretty damn good top-tier attacker, and I gotta say, that the higher base attack does also make up for the slightly lower stats on his TMR, being his TMR is needed. There is something in his kit we'll talk about in a minute. Now, Limit Burst maxed out is a 3,000% Limit Burst that does a critical hit. And this is the big thing about Zack. Zack is a critical hit based unit, which you can consider putting like killers on him. If you consider putting a whole bunch of stuff, it's just percentages up by percentages up by percentages. And I would say that Zack is essentially a better CG Ignacio, providing you can put an element on this guy. And with units like Primrose or Ignis, there's a good chance you can already. So that actually does make up for weakness in Zack. But Zack's Limit Burst is incredibly, potentially very, 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 very powerful. Now, obviously, for our demonstrations today, I just don't have enough resources right now to put into Zack, which is a little too bad. And also, equipment-wise, I just haven't really put that much on him right now, because a lot of my other stuff is just on other units that I have up as my friend unit. So we're just going to demo him with a more basic, just a more basic setup. So keep that in mind. Now, Zack does have some elemental spells, which is kind of nice if you're just trying to get through some missions in the story. So that's pretty good. But Zack's essentially a primary attacker base unit. He will not be used for magic. So a couple of things that really strike me is, first of all, his double hit. So if you double cast this ability in Arena, it'll basically hit 4 times for 9999, or 999 Arena caps. But yes, it is a lot of damage in Arena. The other ability that's pretty damn awesome is this ability, which allows for is either a 270% hit physical AoE hit, or more importantly, an AoE 40% hit to 1-hit KO. This Zack is definitely going to be a pain in the ass to run into in Arena. This ability gets cast, it has a pretty good chance of just OTKing your party, and if he's in your party, then he's just a good turn 1. Just kill your opponent. Pretty mean. Now, Zack's kit is not without other options too. Unlike CG Ignacio, this guy does have a few other things in his kit, which are rather nice. First of all, 8 knives and 1 flash, single target, 8 hit, 250% ignoring 50% defense, so pretty strong 8-hit chaining ability. And I do believe it is AT, which is CG Reagan style, so that's pretty strong. He also has, wait, where? Can't see it. Did it disappear? 36. I think it did. Oh, there it is. Airstrike. Airstrike is an AoE 7-hit, 360% physical attack, self-limit burst charging, 4 to 5 crystals, which is important because Zack's limit burst is so incredibly powerful. So 7 hits as well. AoE means that it should be, I believe his chaining is either Holy Explosion or AT framing chaining, so that's pretty damn good for Zack here. What else? Now he also has Meteor Shot, which is basically, you know, AoE 8 hits at 410%. He has Chocobo Kick, which, you know, is a defense debuff. He has Key Points, which is a 400% critical hit, which he has access to pretty much all the times. That's pretty nice. And one of his other abilities is DMW, which, if you know anything about Crisis Core, I mean, basically all of these are references to Crisis Core, and I absolutely love the game for doing that. If anything, I think Zack being added to the game, pretty good indication that we're probably going to see some Crisis Core characters in the near future. So all you Angel and Genesis fans, good news. Could even see a new version of Sephiroth, but let's not get our hopes up too quickly. Either way, the clearing out of Final Fantasy VII characters really feels like we're going to be getting some more 7 characters from different entries. Oh dear God, please let me have Dirge of Cerberus. I want Sisney. The hope is alive. Now, the last two are his cooldown. Lucky Star, which is 77 ability, or 77 MP available in his 7-star. Good on you, whoever programmed this. Self 250% attack and defense boost for 4 turns, evade 2 physical attacks for 4 turns, and enables the access to a very powerful ability that is a 2000% 1-hit critical attack. So, chain finisher with critical on a high percentage that's accessible for 4 turns, and double casted. Yeah, Zack's pretty damn strong. The other ability, Hard Slash, I believe, is a single target, 16 hit, 1800% physical attack that debuffs Fire, Ice, and Lightning for 80% on a single target. And it's available on 2-turn cooldown, available turn 3, so it's, once the battle gets into it, he's pretty well accessible. I'm only curious if this chains really well with AT chaining. If it does, this ability is insanely strong. If not, well, that's disappointing. And his other ability is Mowgli Power, or Mog Power, basically. And It is a 1200 HP heal split over 4 turns, a 160 MP heal split over 4 turns, 80% attack debuff resist for 4 turns, and 300% modifier for some of his big abilities so for 4 turns. So this is just a generally, nice ability to have. And in his kit, he has, ignore fatal attacks when above 40% HP, so that's pretty reliable to use. 7% MP per turn. Again, good job, programmer. Soldier first class, pretty much what it sounds like if you know anything about Cloud or Sephiroth's kit. The boy who became a hero. Now this is for equipping his TMR, which gives an extra 50% true dual hand, 1.3 times limit burst, and 40% attack. And this is why I think that it's perfectly fine to just have Zack's TMR on it, because it gives extra limit burst damage. And again, as we've talked about, Zack's limit burst is incredibly strong. Other than that, he has 30% extra stats and just some extra true dual hand bonus. So 150% total in his kit. Pretty good, not 200%, but it's fine. And Promise to Aerith is his last ability that gives him some extra spirit and damage modifiers. So Zack is essentially based kind of on chaining as well as kind of on just focusing on doing critical hits. And that's where I think Zack is very, very strong for all of this. Zack has kind of this great thing of being able to just do a lot of damage, and we're going to show that off in a couple of ways. We're going to be using Yuffie, mainly because we had Yuffie for our last thing. We're going to get these two girls going on their cooldown, if I could click on it properly. There we go. Buff with that, buff with that. And before we get into it, let's show off, or we want to use this 77 MP ability because we want to see what his cooldown is like, or his unlocked ability, and then we'll just do the one ability that we have access to right now, the 400% critical hit. See how much that damage does unchained. So that's that one, right? So taking a look at Zack's stats before, about 1994 right now. Now we're going to do this, which will give him up to 2006. Again, very, very strong. There's his animation. Love it. Crisis Core. And, just a fair amount of damage without really doing too much yet. But the extra defense boost on his thing, I always say that I like survivability on a unit, so adding that survivability is very nice here. Alright, so we're going to get these two girls doing their chaining, and then we are going to have access to his new 72 MP ability. This is his big damage one, the one that we unlock by using his cooldown. So let's just get that going, shall we? And so if you saw those damage flashes, a lot of that damage was Zack. Now the timing I definitely do not have down yet, but that's okay, we'll get there eventually. So let's try that one more time. So the animation is very, very slow, but as you can see, we're doing a hell of a lot of damage there. A lot of that damage is purely Zack, with the benefit here of having, just a mass damage. Now, we're going to test out his other ability, which is the Air Strike, which is another ability I think is very, very strong. We're going to get right in. And keep in mind that our Zack is just not even really that powered up yet. We could be stronger. Alright, so let's use Yuffie, and I believe it is her ice attack we want here. So, ice, ice. And let's just see if this chains properly. Very nicely done. Very nice. I honestly wish that Ooh, just enough. Thank you. Thank you, Nagi. Nagi will add some extra damage to our total, but we should still see a pretty nice amount of damage from the combination. Yeah, you know, pretty nice. Pretty nice. Alright, so we don't really need this, but we're going to do it anyway. We're going to buff. We are going to activate Yuffie. We also have Yuffie's other ability here, which I have not shown off yet, and we're not going to show it off here. Gotta save something for the streams. And we're going to use Zack's Limit Burst, which is, again, that very, very strong ability. Alright, so Zack goes in, does a lot of damage. A little bit slow of an animation. It is a multi-hit, but still does a fair amount of damage. And honestly, I think even not having triple cast on him is not that big a deal. We did 548 million points of damage in a turn, and we could potentially do more if I just had Zack really, you know, betterly equipped, his weapon enhanced and everything, but this point in the month, it's just kind of difficult for me to do that, so we're just going to have to deal with, you know, just an okay show-off. So, Zack does have some very strong chaining abilities. He has some very, kit that I think is a lot better than a lot of people are giving him credit for. Normally when we look at this kind of, you know, unit here, I'm not a big fan of ever being held to a very specific weapon, but Zack's kit kind of makes up for it just because he has the critical hits, and he has access to a very strong regular attack that can be chained into very regularly. Zack also has some good self-sustaining things, and his big boost to himself actually gives defense too, which makes him just survivable. Not that he doesn't have just a fairly high defense, spirit, and HP anyway. So, gotta say, like Zack, a considerable amount, more than I thought I would, and here's hoping that we get to see more Crisis Core in the future. So that's all for now. I will see you guys next time.